Okay, I think we're recording. Hello,
All right.
everyone. Welcome to my channel. We are here to discuss The Failures by Benjamin Lyer, and we have Benjamin Lyer here himself. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So first, we're going to get on to some non-spoiler stuff, and then I'll
Sure.
alert you guys when we're getting into spoiler territory. But let's start it off. So, like I said before we started recording, I'm amazed at the world you've built because it's so complicated. Could you give me a recommendation, sci-fi or fantasy, that like a must-read for you that I should read? Because I'm pretty early in my reading journey. I'd say I've consistently read for the past 2 years, so still getting into the some of the classics too. What would you recommend? Because I already trust you. Maybe I shouldn't, but I already do trust you.
Yeah. You'll probably know this one, but it was a huge influence on my world building and the way I think about the things that went into the book is the Hyperion series
Okay.
by Dan Simmons. The first two, Hyperion and Rise of Hyperion, get the most press and the most notice, but I actually really love the second two, the Endymion books, because it's like a matched set of dual books. So there's four in all. Anyway, that's a great one. If you, I love talking about this book, so I'm going to mention it. And if you got through the failures, it's a tough and chewy read. It is not for the faint
Okay.
of heart.
Okay.
But Two Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer is
Two.
Two Like the Lightning.
Okay. Got it.
And it's a series, but you could probably just read the first one if you wanted to. You'll know pretty quickly if it's going to be for you or not. But it is
Okay.
the most spectacularly well thought out, interesting world building, and probably the only functional like utopia, like realistic utopia that I've ever read, while
Oh
still
wow.
being really engaging and it's phenomenal. It's so good. It's the best
Okay.
book I've read in the last 20 years. It's amazing.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, I'll stick with those two.
Okay. Awesome. I've heard of Hyperion. I have not read it though, and I have not heard of the second one. But thank you,
Yeah.
nonetheless. That's awesome. Okay. Speaking of books, I wanted to know your reading journey. Like, what did you start on, and how has it evolved over time? Have you always been into sci-fi and fantasy? You jump around. What did you kind of do?
Yeah, I read. I was a huge like Roald Dahl fan. I don't remember it, but my mom says I used to read, like I would read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from beginning to end, curled up, and then I would just like turn back to the front page and start reading it again. She was like over and over and over again. She was like, "I was worried about you." And then I discovered at like a craft fair. I discovered a Robert Heinlein. It was my first sci-fi book, and that was it was over. So a huge probably, even though I don't love the author anymore. Ender's Game is
Yeah.
a huge, that was very very formative for me.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Stephen King Dark Tower books were that was a big one for me. Except I'm old enough to have had to wait for all of those books to come out. Pretty much, you guys are all like mad that you got to wait a few years for the next one in a series, and I'm like, we waited like 15 years for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm less well read now, unfortunately, because it's difficult for me to read as much when I'm writing a lot.
Yeah.
But I used to read just about everything that came out. So almost everything from the '90s and 2000s, like
Okay.
I put in my face and stole something from for the failures. So
Okay. Interesting. Um, Fun fact: I just started It by Stephen King.
ooh.
That's my first Stephen King novel too. So like, I really enjoyed the Welcome to Derry show. I don't know if you've seen it on HBO.
No, I haven't.
It's just another extended universe of It, like the movies, but it's before the events of the movies. And it was so good. Like I was like, that's the best show I've seen last year. I want to go read that now because like I know the story, the
Yeah.
original story is also cool. Um, I'm assuming you've read it. Have you read it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's
Yeah.
amazing. All of almost everything King was writing during that during the cocaine years, unfortunately, was is just so good. Don't
Yeah.
do drugs, kids, but you know it was. Um, I prefer, like, of the enormous door stoppers, to me it's it or the Stand. I prefer the Stand a little bit just because it's so much more closely tied to the Dark Tower. But for me, the Dark Tower is that's my favorite Stephen King. But I've read I don't know, probably, I don't know, a lot, maybe half. I don't know. You can't read every Stephen King book.
Yeah. There's so many. My one of
Yeah,
my good friends, his favorite series is The Dark Tower, and I've heard a lot of good things, and obviously you took inspiration from it, so I know it's probably really good. But okay, I have a question about being an author.
sure.
What is your favorite part about being an author? Literally, it could be anything. What do you enjoy most?
I want to say something a little salty, like when I get to type the end.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those writers who loves sitting down and typing words into a screen.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I do, of course, but it's a little more work for me than it is for some. But
Yeah.
I think that the truthful answer would be there's a, especially with very complicated books like these Wonderlands books, I can just, I describe my writing process sometimes as just like there's a cinder block wall in front of me, and the only way to get through it is just to bang my head against it over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes for weeks and months, and it just feels like it's going nowhere. And
Yeah.
you know, you get the whole like, oh, I'm, you know, imposter syndrome. I'm terrible at the what am I ever thinking? Blah blah blah. And this just happened literally 2 days ago, where you finally have like some little idea or something clicks, or you just push it hard enough for a long enough, and like boom, the whole wall falls down and the story clicks into place, and all of a sudden all of your characters start glowing and are alive, and these empty, silly, stupid words fill with meaning and
Yeah.
magic, and that is, I mean, that's why I keep doing it, because that moment is just the best thing in the whole world.
I've heard so many authors talk about like the story taking over itself, and like
Yeah.
that's basically exactly what you're describing. So that's got to be a great feeling. So
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. I like
yeah.
that.
Okay, so another thing I probably found online. So you've been thinking about this world for, is it 30 years?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, were you are you a heavy outliner, or do you just, I guess what we just said, let everything just take you?
Um, I am learning to be a little bit more of an outliner.
Okay.
But I'm definitely not. I'm a pantser, or whatever term you prefer. The first book was, I mean, I would write outlines sometimes, and they would
Yeah.
just get completely ignored. Mostly my process is like, sorry, I love my dumb metaphors, so I'm going to subject you to them. Uh, it's sort of like there's, I usually know where I want to end up with either a chapter, a scene, a whole book, a whole series, or whatever. And writing to me feels like I'm in a very dark room with, there's a little light at the end, and I got to get to the end, but it's,
Okay.
the whole room is filled with stuff that I'm barking my shins on and banging into, and like I have to like kind of feel my way through it, and then I hit a
This
dead
is a
end, and
fitting
you gotta,
metaphor, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, maybe it fed into the world, who knows. But all to say, I have to do a lot of uh, writing, and then I just throw it away and keep the parts that work, and like go, like a lot of times my, I like to have my characters make their own decisions, and
Yeah.
organically do cool stuff. But sometimes they'll do stuff, especially in a book as complicated as these are, that
Yeah.
completely screws everything else up for a bunch of other characters like 30 years ago with these intertwined plots, and I have to go throw away.
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels like half a book, and rewrite it all, and it's frustrating, but it's I think if there's something enjoyable and interesting about the the failures or the wonderlands. It's because that's how I wrote them. Like I think you get a certain kind of texture and richness. Like when you rewrite something that many times and tear it apart and put it back together enough times, it's sort of like it can't help but get a little bit of cool glow to it.
Yeah, no, I listened to one of your other interviews that you did on BookTube, and it was talking about this, and because I was so amazed by like the intertwining plot lines all over the place, and you were like, yeah, I take one POV and just stretch it all the way out till the end, and do that for each one, and then I go back and do the puzzle pieces, and I was like, I mean, it doesn't take away from anything, but it was like, okay, now I kind of see this process that we're doing, because like to me it's like everything's whoa, like how are we even going there? But then it clicks at the end, and that's what's so satisfying about it. But that are you in that puzzle piece phase right now with book two? Like sorry to jump all the way to book two stuff, but like
No,
is
no,
that
no.
kind of where you're at with book two?
Uh, I'm I'm still working on book two, unfortunately, but I'm getting pretty far along in the process. I'm not allowed and don't want to say exactly how far.
Yeah.
But most of the puzzle pieces, or the big puzzle pieces, I've known for years, and even the ones that I've sort of the fun. There's always some fun ones you sort of come up as you're writing. You're like, ooh, I could do this cool thing.
Yeah.
Most of those are pretty well mapped out, but it's fun usually. And once the book is in the can and I'm doing the editing and rewriting and getting in feedback from friends and whatever, I'll usually get. That's when you can put a lot of those little reminder. You can cheat and go back and change history and have a character say something because in the next chapter somebody's gonna do something and it'll be a cool little moment. Like if you figured it out, you'll go like ooh, and that's I would love to say I'm smart enough to have planned all of those little details out from the beginning and I just wrote it all down. No, of course not. I go back and do
because
that.
I'm live reacting and I'm like, how did he know that was gonna happen? It was like, oh, he wrote it. Like that makes a lot more sense. Like
Yeah, I
but
probably
no.
shouldn't. I probably should lie about this more, make myself look cooler. But no,
Yeah.
that's how I do it. For better or worse.
That makes sense. Another writing question.
Sure.
What was the process of writing the epigraphs before like the chapters? Were those just random or like because some of them seemed like a thought just popped into your head and you wrote it, but others were like, whoa, like that was really deep. That was really thought out. Like so what was the process there?
Um, Mostly like when just sit down to write a chapter, if something pops into my head that's cool or sounds like a little fragment of a song, or I've just been thinking about something and I paraphrase it into this, parlance of this world. It's just sort of a fun thing for me to do. It's not heavy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's sort of the fun part of writing the chapter for me is like coming up with the little things. Occasionally, I'll have like I want to say something a little more profound about what's happening or the world or the deep themes or something, and I'll spend some more
Yeah.
time on them. But yeah, hopefully they don't get too much in the way. They're mostly there because I enjoy writing them, and hopefully a few people out there enjoy reading them.
No, I really enjoyed it. And we'll talk a little later. Like, even the titles of every chapter, like some of them made me like die laughing. I was just like, well,
Oh,
actually, after you read them, that's when and I'll explain later when we go into spoilers. But yeah, we'll get into that later. But so I loved the third person perspective. Did you ever debate doing first person with the characters at all?
this is where I get to enjoy my little like, ooh, I'm a professional writer man moment.
Yeah.
Because there are sections of the book that are in first person.
Oh wow.
And I do flip and flop. It's my very favorite writer of all time is Neil Stephenson.
Okay.
And he does that all the time. And when I'm not claiming to be fit to sit at the feet of that genius, but when he does it really well, like you don't even notice, but it adds this such a cool texture and immediacy to certain sections, and Yeah, I was like I said, I steal from everything, so that's
Yeah.
one of the many things I stole from Mr. Stevenson. Hopefully, he won't sue me for it.
No, that's actually very helpful for me. I know it might seem like a dumb thought or question, but I could tell there was confusing things happening, but
Yep.
that actually makes a ton of more sense now because there's so many stories within stories. It's like that change from first to third is happening. That's even cooler. So thank you for
Yeah.
telling me that. I appreciate it.
There's not much.
Okay.
And I also I should say I misunderstood your question at first. I should say there's more like switching from present tense to past tense
Oh, okay.
than there is like first person. There's a little bit of first person in there also as well. To
Okay.
answer your actual question, now that I listened and understand it, oh my lord. I enjoy writing in first person. I've written a fair bit in first person, but it's a very specific and very strong flavor for me.
Okay.
There's some first person in book two, but I try to use it only a little bit every once in a while because it's such a switch from the more omniscient, backed off view. And I won't go into all of the fun reasons why you use one or the other, but I'd really love to write an entire book in first person at some point, but
Okay.
probably not soon.
Speaking of first person, when I watched the interview, this is a little off topic. You were reading Sun Eater.
Oh yeah,
Where
yeah.
are you in Sun Eater right now? Are you still reading it?
Yeah, so hard, not much farther than I was before. I'm halfway through the third book,
Okay.
but again, I'm on not on. I've put myself on a very heavy deadline to get book two done, and it's just really difficult to get engaged, especially with something as dense and like awesome as Sun Eater. It's hard
Yeah.
to engage, so I sort of have it sitting in my TBR for when I'm done with production on book two and I can actually enjoy reading books again. So yeah, I mean Christopher's the best. I hope I get to meet him someday. And the books are wonderful. I can't, and everybody keeps saying they keep getting better and better. I'm like, can't wait.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no. The third one's my favorite. So you're gonna. I'm sure you're already enjoying it. Hopefully.
it's just his books do a thing that oh no, my brain. Ian Banks, the culture series books do, where like they start out and they're good. I mean, they're great. Such a wonderful writer. But then
Yeah.
something happens like a quarter, third of the way in, and all of a sudden you're just like kicked all the way in, and that had I think just happened in book three when I kind of put it down. So I'll probably just restart it and reread the whole thing. But
Cool. Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that series. Okay, we are now entering spoiler territory. So if you have not read the book, please click off. All right. So my favorite POVs in the book were. It's really hard for me to pick, but I was thinking about it, and I think it's the monsters. And because it's so. I've never read Portal Fantasy before, like ever, and so that concept alone was cool to me. But the fact that they have no idea how powerful they are at first, and they're just walking around bored, I just thought it was hilarious. And things later down the line, they're just so funny. So I like those POVs a lot. Do you have a favorite scene of the monsters or the behemoths that you enjoyed writing?
oh yeah, the scene that is almost entirely just dialogue, where they basically like, I mean, spoilers, where they like broke back into the city just because they wanted some food,
Yeah.
and they're just sort of like sitting there like, uh, yeah, that one was so much fun to write, and it's I don't always enjoy reading my own stuff when I go back and read it, but that's one of the few that I'm like, yeah, I was doing okay on that chapter. That's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
when
that's probably my favorite.
when I think about them, I think about that chapter because I was sad when they were just having some drinks and Gunnar punches him and he just goes flying and I'm like, oh no, they were just
Yeah.
living a normal life, they had it, and yeah, it set them on the path. But God, those chapters were great, by the way.
Thanks. I love that you. I love that you love them. That's awesome.
Yes. Well, actually, I'll ask the same question to the James chapters, the Lost
Sure.
Boys, because he's definitely one of the most. I don't know the word. I resonated with him a lot. Like your little term that you use, like the knives coming in, and I always felt bad for him. Like even though he's this stubborn kid that just wants to fight all the time, like well now we know where he is too, which makes it even more impactful. I think like that reveal.
Yeah.
Um, but did you have a favorite scene of the Lost Boys or James in general?
Um. I, th- he James and Chris were both at the same time like the most difficult to write and the easiest. So
Yeah.
there's a bunch of little scenes and moments that were real easy that I really liked. Almost anything with James bantering back and forth with Uncle was just so much fun.
Yeah.
Um, that stuff was really fun. Uh, I think the showdown with Winter at the end when the bad thing happens to the poor little creature. Um, it's hard to say it's my favorite because it's oh, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like that chapter. That's a decent one.
Okay. Okay. That tells me some things. 'Cause I was sad during that thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like to torture my characters. It's
Yeah, exactly.
part of the
Exactly.
fun.
It's character building, so we're good. We're good.
Exactly.
Okay. This is a really random one, but I thought about it earlier. At what point in the writing process did you know that Wes was gonna get his head exploded?
That scene was, I mean, that scene's 20 years old. So
Oh wow.
that was actually the very first of the this will probably this might ruin it for some people, but like this was not always intended to be a temporally shifted story with where things happening in the past or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I had started out 30 years ago to just write a adventure story about the stuff that I liked, ripping off the Dark Tower and Hyperion. And but I that was the first time I realized like these two characters could be the same character, and that like if I did it right, it could be like you read the same scene at the beginning and the end, but your knowledge makes it a completely different scene, and that seemed really cool to me. And then I just couldn't stop doing it, and just kept doing that over and over and over again until
Yeah.
you know we
I
we
mean,
have a whole book.
I mean that because I think that was the first page or one of the first few pages where it's like a man that does not seem like a man, something like that. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, I really like this guy. And then like, eventually, his head pops off. But
Yep.
oh, that's what I was gonna talk about too. The title of that chapter, when he goes to the campfire, is called "Utility of West." And again, it's like, his utility just being dead. Like, I just thought that was hilarious. Um, Same thing with, do you say it Diale? How do you say the character's name?
I say DL, but
DL.
however you hear it in your head is right. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Because he also had a utility of Dial, and he just dies in that chapter. I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I not to get too like uh sorry, hopefully you can't hear that. There's a little bit of noise in the background.
No, you're good.
It was fun to play with expectations in a way where like the first character you meet in a story who is obviously the handsome lead, and the protagonist turning out to be not only kind of a little bit of a blowhard, but just a disposable tool used by this like badass woman who's like pulling the strings on everything.
Yeah.
And then I also I just liked the idea that DL was such a terrifying force of nature for James and Chris, who held their hands and it is whatever. And then like it was a very interesting way for me to show the power dynamics here of like, you know, who you're dealing with when you get up into the winter class level of people. So yeah, but I love that you pointed that out. That's one of the fun
Yeah.
little things for me.
That's a great segue into my next question because I was thinking about how many different powers you have. Like, there's obviously the magic users, and there's the behemoths, and there's the robots, the janissaries. There's, the deadsmith. So like, how serious are you about like? I guess the word would be power scaling, like setting up these hierarchies of power. Do you think about it a lot? Like, do you have a clear structure of who's the strongest type of being in your head? Like, you don't have to tell me, but like, when I saw that battle of the Alvarez and the Deadsmith, I was like, oh wait, like he can beat a behemoth? Like, I was like, whoa, like this is cool. Like, so how serious do you think about that sort of like power scaling?
Quite seriously, it's not less in terms of like it's fun to smash my toys together and see which one wins. Even though of course there's a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
just because with this the kind of story that I'm trying to tell, and with being very careful of spoilers, like where it ultimately goes and what I'm sort of trying to say with the whole story as a whole, it is important. At least I hope. Oh man, I'm trying so hard to tiptoe around this. I'll just say that I think it's important, and I put a fair amount of time into the world building of the magic systems and how those magic systems are articulated in the form of these creatures, because I'll just say it's important to me what the hierarchies are, and it's important to the world. I don't think that's too big of a spoiler. I'm being so vague.
No,
But yeah.
that's
Definitely put a lot of thought into it.
awesome. You might have been asked this before, but do you have a favorite POV that you like to write?
Um, that's a tough one because they're all really hard in certain ways, and they're all really fun in certain ways.
Yeah.
Probably the like when Winter and Candle were bickering, or like the Cabal. That was probably
Yeah.
just the most fun to write. Just a bunch of these snippy ancient machines and people like being petty with each other. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably those were probably the most fun to write. But there's moments in all of the other ones where like even if writing the really emotionally resonant stuff is hard, and it's the hardest for me to get right, that
Yeah.
it's by far the most rewarding. So yeah, it's hard to say. But if I want to just have like a nice easy afternoon of writing, I'll hop into one of the POVs that's a little bit more like just bantering back and forth, like fun, Machiavellian me. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then in terms of the world building, because that 30 years and all these magic systems and all of this legend and myth, I find like so interesting. Um, do you have it written down, or is it like, I think in one of your interviews said it's sometimes just in my head, I just forget stuff that doesn't matter. Is that how it is for the world building too, or like do you have stuff written down in terms of like maybe even like the magic system, like rules and all of that? Do you write that stuff down?
Nah. I do have. There's a trouble with calling yourself a liar, like as your fake last name. I feel compelled to be overly truthful, even when it's not important. But
Yeah.
I did write like a world building Bible, probably like 300-400 pages of just world building stuff.
Whoa.
But that was 12, 15 years ago, and it's wildly out of date, and like I think I still have it. I crack it open every once in a while and kind of laugh at some of my ideas and dreams. But I just keep it. I just keep it in my head. I think if I have a magic trick, that's my magic trick. That's my stupid human trick.
Yeah.
And I really do, like, if it doesn't stick in my head, it wasn't good enough to stick in my head. So, c'est la vie.
Was there a day where you knew you were going to write this book? Like, walk me through that story, because I don't know if I remember hearing it. Like, because obviously it's been churning in your head for a while, and you've been doing other things. But was there like one day where you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be a novel? Like this, I'm going to write this thing.
It's it's hard to distill down and have like, oh, there was this one exact moment. And I may have told this story before, but like I had always wanted to write it. I wanted it to be like a picture book series at first, or some sort of graphic novel, and then I started like enjoying the process of writing more. But I've said before, I was very into music back then, and then I got into filmmaking, and then I got into game design, and I've always had these like front and center things that I was trying to do. But I remember I had written a version of a book called The Failures, kind of just to see if I could do it. And it was just like Gunn and Jackie's story. And they weren't quite the same characters. It was more angsty and dark. It wasn't. Hopefully, nobody will ever hack my Dropbox and find the file. I don't want anybody to read that. But I finished it, and I was like, there was no sense. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to try to send this to agents or editors. I was like, this is nowhere near ready. But I gave it to some friends, and a few of my friends really fell in love with the world, and enough to where I was like, oh, there's something here. Like, they were responding to it in a way that nobody had ever really responded to, like, my music or filmmaking or whatever. Like, I could just tell, like, something about it was connecting in a way that, as an artist, a needy, whatever artist, like, you just desperately want to ever connect with somebody that way. And but I was still waffling around because I wanted to be a rock and roll star and a movie director and meh. And I was having a drink with one of my good friends, and she was like, I was just moaning and groaning about I don't know what to do with my life, and I'm blah 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 blah. And she was like, well, Ben, you do all of these things, you get these, you want to do all these big things, and you throw yourself full force into them, and blah blah blah, and then you drop them, and then blah. You've done that for as long as I've known you, which was like 10 years at that point. She's like, but the entire time you've been writing, so why don't you won't shut up about this stupid world that's in your head? Why don't you just, I mean, she didn't say it exactly like this, I'm paraphrasing, but she was kind of just like, why don't you just write the book? And it was around that, it was definitely from that conversation that it sort of coincided with me getting laid off from my job at the time, so I had a lot of free time, and really just sort of like decided I was going to try to be a writer, and there was never going to be a different first book. It was always going to be this book, and I just knew I was going to have to work it until it was good. I don't know if I got there, but
no, you definitely did.
It's out, so
Yeah, exactly. How long ago did you decide that a big setting piece was going to be the mountain? Was that always a piece?
It was always one of the main settings, but the other points of view, and again, this maybe a little too inside baseball or whatever, but like the Lost Boys were set in a completely different place, and Gunn and Jackie didn't arrive on the mountain; they arrived somewhere else, and it was later in the process, but still probably 10 years ago, where I really started to put the pieces together and realize, like, it's so much more interesting and fun if this is all sort of happening in and under this, this mountain, in this place, in this underground keep, in this whatever. And like, not only was it less confusing, because it was already a very confusing book, but it's just more interesting. So I would I'd say probably about 10 years ago I started to really focus down on that.
Do you have a favorite city or setting inside the book, and why?
I mean, I've had the keep in my head since. I mean, Sophie was born when, who knows how long ago, and it wasn't even gonna intended to be part of the Wonderlands, but I sat down and wrote down the sentence, Sophie Versace was burning butterflies again, and I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. And I was like, they're mechanical butterflies. She's not burning real butterflies. And then but yeah, Sophie just walked straight into my head, like fully formed. She's never changed a bit since then. And I sort of built the Root of Palladia and the Keep and all of and then the killers started to arrive, even though I didn't know their past and histories. And I loved that, like, them sitting and drinking coffee on a balcony trying to figure out what trouble they were going to get in. And so that setting, especially that street, that little scene, is so, like, vibrantly close to my heart that it's by far my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one.
that's a great answer. Okay, and you do not have to answer any of these if you don't want to. They're book two-ish questions, but they're very high level. Like, it shouldn't get into anything, but so we got a lot of time spent with James, and that's what I told you that I love.
Mhm.
Can you say anything about time spent with Chris? Will we get more time spent with Chris or Candle in the second book? Can you say anything about that? And if you can't, totally fine. I don't want to, like, intrude on anything, but
I will say something as long as you and anybody who might listen to this don't hold me to anything I ever say.
okay.
I change my mind a lot, and I'm all, just don't hold me to it. All I will say is this: one of the things I really love about that story, James and Chris, and in Candle and the Deader and the Prey and whatever, all the different guys, is that I think in many other, not other but in a different sort of fantasy series, Chris and Candle and the Prey would be the main. They'd be the protagonist. Like, every single thing that happens in these books is sort of because that dude is doing his thing and trying to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me to not go into his point of view very often.
Okay.
In a way that it's hard for me to believe that I would switch that up. However, if something really grabs me, or if that becomes necessary to get to the ending that I want to get to, of course I'll do it. But I would say, like, you're definitely going to be spending plenty of time with that character, but probably through other people's eyes. I guess it's safe to say that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think, to your point, it made Candle so ominous before I knew who he was, because he was just this legend, and we got tidbits of it throughout the book. So that definitely makes sense, keeping some of the information back. But that's awesome.
But I'll say that by the time you hit the end of book 3, you'll know his whole story. Like, you'll.
Okay.
I'm not gonna hold back on fun stuff. It's just writing from his point of view is less interesting to me than showing him from the outside. Well, I'll leave it at that. I got to stop talking.
No, that's okay. I have a publisher question for you, because honestly,
Sure.
I just don't know how the process works. Does the publisher? Maybe it's deal to deal dependent, but do you have deadlines to finish each book, or is it you kind of have flexibility and you tell them, hey, I might finish by this time. Can you give me that? Is that how it goes usually with publishers, or how is it working for you? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to say if you don't.
I can't really answer that because I don't
Okay.
really have a publisher or an editor. I have the awesomest lady in the entire universe, Betsy. Betsy Walheim is like a legend's legend in the industry. She put out Name of the Wind. She put out, like, look up her her
Yes.
Wikipedia. Like the books Betsy has put out is bananas, and she is just for I couldn't be more fortunate that she is sort of a champion of these books and me. And
Yeah.
of course, she and the publisher would like me to be done as fast as I can, but they're also she's made it so clear that she wants it to be done right and good. And I think that I have a level of flexibility and a level of almost safety and security in Betsy and in Daw Astra that most
Yeah.
writers don't have. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that my experience is probably not the norm.
Yeah.
From what I've talked to other authors, I am starting to understand how unbelievably lucky I am. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, like yeah, I can't totally answer your question. I know that for me, they're like they'll be like yeah, it would be really great if the book was done at a certain point or whatever, but also make it good, right? So if you
Yeah.
can't do that, if you can't do both, make it good.
No,
Which is really yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely answers it. That's what I was wondering. Um, Funny story of honestly how I came to your book too was I read all of Sun Eater and loved it. Um, and someone at Daw reached out to me and said, "Hey, like saw you loved Sun Eater. Would you like to read this book?" And I was like, I mean, yeah, it sounds like something I would love. Like, why not? And so that's how I came across your book. But then she told me, so her name's Betsy, correct?
Mm,
That edited Name of the Wind, and like, it's very dark back there, but I have two Name of the Winds right there. So
nice. Yeah.
I that's like my favorite books. I hate that I can't call it a series of all time.
Yeah.
But like it's a funny road how I got here. But yeah, no, thanks for answering that because I'm also very new to like the publishing world in general, and I want to like keep learning more as I talk to more people in the industry. That's what I'm really passionate about is like I said in the beginning, like learning from people that are just smarter than me and like they are so talented, and I just want to pick their brain. And so again, thank you for coming on. That's part of
If
the reason. But
if it helps or just to go along with you, like I feel exactly the same way, and going to book conventions or the handful of times I've gotten to meet the people I think of as incredibly smart and interesting, and like I'm just like, just tell me all of the stuff I want to learn. So yeah, I think it's cool.
have you? This is a random question. Have you ever had any funny fan interactions, like with your books? Any funny questions? Maybe like crazy reactions?
I have fans.
You
That's
do.
weird.
You do.
Um, not really. I haven't. The book's still getting out there. I haven't had a chance to meet many people who enjoy the book, other than like a little bit virtually here and there. Um,
Yeah.
but a little bit online and stuff here and there. I'm a little. I know many authors are very very comfortable interacting with content creators and shared spaces and all that stuff. I'm a little less. I'm just a little weird about it.
Yeah.
It feels a little strange to me to like jump in an Instagram post about my book. I'm just like, whoa, I don't know. So I think I'm holding myself back a little bit from some cool interactions with people because I just have some weird social anxiety stuff, I think.
No,
But we'll see how that.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry, I interrupted you.
We'll see how that shakes out. Life is an evolving journey, and maybe I'll get over it and learn to hang out with people better. But
No, I feel like that's cool because you don't. Like I said before recording, it's like the space has changed in that. Even if you put out a book, like you sometimes do have to do these social media things, and that's not always how it has been. And so it's like
yeah,
it's a new world for everyone, really.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's
Cool.
a new thing to that everybody kind of has to navigate, and there's good and bad to all of it. But I've among my friends, and for even when I was a musician, I've always been famously terrible at social media, and I had hopes that once I had a book out, I would suddenly just transform into being really great at communicating with other human beings, and it hasn't happened. But
No, that's totally fair. Um, okay. I think I already asked this, but how is writing going for book two? Obviously, you don't have to give me a percentage or anything, but
sure.
is it going well? Feelings currently? Like, I think you just said you like broke a wall like 2 days ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going great. I wanted to be done a while ago, so I'm feeling the pressure of just I want to be done, and I would love for people to be reading it. But I'm really like there's a whole middle part of writing, at least for me, where like it's really exciting in the beginning and you're coming up with the stories, you're coming up with whatever, and then there's this middle part of like where you're kind of not that I'm in the middle of the book, I'm much further than the middle, but this sort of like where you're just kneading the dough and it's not very exciting and it doesn't feel very resonant and it doesn't feel very whatever, you're just kind of trying to get it done.
Yeah.
And that part is really tough, and I've been sort of in that part for a while.
Okay.
And just in the last probably like 2-3 months, I'm finally breaking through on all the storylines and getting to the fun, exciting part and starting to connect, and everything's starting to feel meaningful. And I'm starting to get really, really excited about some of the fun little surprises I got for everybody that wants to partake. So yeah, I'm feeling very, very good about book two. I'm very excited, and it's starting to really pick up pace and steamroll towards the end. So
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Um, I'm also excited for that. Last question for you here, and again, you do not have to answer it, but what character, if there's any, are you excited to explore more of in book two and write?
um, so that's a little odd because I'm basically have already done that.
Yeah. Or maybe.
Writing it,
Okay. Sorry.
uh, I'll answer for both book two and book three.
Okay.
Um, Writing what has become of our favorite little stubborn bastard James has
Yes.
been really, really rewarding. It's
Okay.
probably been my not always the easiest thing to write, but it's been my favorite thing
Yeah.
so far. And then in the future, in book three, without getting too spoilery or dense or whatever, and I won't name any characters' names or anything, but I'm very, very excited to explain and explore what the Wonderlands is, what it's for, how it all works, why it works that way. I've been waiting for 25, 30 years to get to tell that. So yeah, I'm pretty
Wow.
pumped.
That's gonna be amazing. Thank you for giving me some of the scoop. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I just thought of one more though. Um,
Sure.
were there any themes or ideas that you wanted to get across in book one? That like maybe some like lessons you wanted to people to see. Because there's some stuff I took away, but is there anything that you personally wanted to get across during book one? Maybe just overall broad themes.
Um, it, yeah, there's a lot of, at least to me, there's a lot of themes at work that I'm trying to play with or have emerged from trying to just tell the story.
Yeah.
I To me the interesting or the most interesting one, whether or not people really pick up on this too much or take away from it, but for me, I like writing about basically how difficult entrenched power systems are to topple and how destructive they can be, and how
Yeah.
once once something or someone or some power system is in place, uh, it can be catastrophic, right? Like because like sociopaths and greed and just people pursuing their own interests without too much regard for those below, is just a fascinating thing for me. And I think obviously this world is an exaggerated version of those things. But yeah, I would say that's sort of like the little theme that turns me on the most about the book. Hopefully there might be a handful that pull that out and pick it up from it. But you know, I will say I love, one of the reasons I love books so much and I think I've said this before, but I'm going to do it again because I love it, is that the reasons I love books more than any other art form is because it's a collaborative thing. You're going to read a different Hyperion than I read, right? That you are collaborating with me to tell a story, and your version of that story. So I say, like, however you hear the voices in or the names in your head is right. That's your world. We built that together, right? And whatever stories and themes and whatever you think the book is about and what the important part is, you're right. I'm the last one in the world who's going to tell you you're getting it wrong. So.
Yeah. No, that's why I almost didn't ask, because we each come into the book with our own opinions and own perspective, and it makes it, I'd say, as long as we're viewing it as the text says, not taking things randomly from outside of it. Right. But that's also been an interesting concept. I feel like the more I read and the more I realize what I like about reading, and that's like a superpower to me. I'm like, whoa, I can keep doing this and enjoy it more than I already am. It's just kind of crazy, because I don't know, it's been a journey. So that's one of the things I've been just really enjoying about reading currently. But
that's great. I mean, that's a beautiful sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes me think of, is there any, so sci-fi and fantasy are probably your favorite genres, correct?
Yeah.
What are some, and maybe your writing speaks to this too, but what are some tropes or themes or ideas that you like being explored in writing and storytelling?
I love anything that speaks to oh man, basically how societies and civilizations work on some level, how anything that sort of gets at human the way that human nature intersects with how societies work. I would say Hyperion and the Endymion novels are extremely profound with that. Too, The Lightning is a masterclass. Also, the culture novels and that kind of stuff really, really gets my brain moving. When sort of explorations of the different ways societies can be. Kim Stanley Robinson wrote a book called 2113, I think. Amazing sci-fi novel about the near future of space in our solar system. That's just oh man, I want to live there, but also human beings are still jerks, and it's not the best place to live either. We still have problems. So yeah, sorry, I'm going on and on. That's basically what I really like. But I also, if you can take me out of my head and take me to another place and show me something cool that I've never seen before, I'm in.
No, exactly. I just keep thinking of them. Sorry.
Keep.
As you've gone through this writing process, have you learned anything specifically about yourself that you didn't before engaging on this journey, on this artist journey, I guess?
Oh, that's a
big one.
Yeah, it's such a great question. But it's still I'm everything everything I've learned about myself has kind of come through. I think I like to joke that for most of my life I couldn't afford therapy, so I wrote, and I think that's true of a lot of people, right? But yeah, I think I've learned just okay. Let's just focus on like the the ability to get books done. I'm pretty open and vocal about the fact that I'm bipolar, and mood swings and dealing with spicy brains is a pretty important topic to me, and it can be a pretty rough road sometimes, right? I'm
Yeah.
other folks have it far worse than me, but it's not always so easy, right, to sit down
Yeah.
and get words done. And I've been on a journey for many years now of trying to be more effective at that, try to be better at it, try to work through the bad days, be kind to yourself and take days off, blah blah blah. So that's been a really important part of writing aside, like just being a writer has helped me in every aspect of my life and helped me to be a much more responsible and attentive friend and family member and whenever I'm in relationships. Well, but I think like learning how to force myself to write has made me a much better human being. I hope. I
Yeah.
think. So yeah, I'll settle on that. That's probably the big one.
No, that's awesome. I feel like a big part of my life right now is just failing at whatever I do a ton of times, and I learned so much more, and I gotta expect that that's how the writing process is too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times you're throwing things at the wall, and then like something sticks, and you're like, "Whoa, I wouldn't have got there if I didn't throw the other stuff before
Yeah.
it." Um, I mean, so that's been the most rewarding thing to me about getting involved in the community too, and like doing content is like, oh, my first pieces of content are awful, but they're like, oh, then I meet this person, and then I meet this person, oh, and then I learn how to be better, and
Yeah.
it's like an exponential cycle of growth, I guess. So I could see the same thing happening with writing. So that's awesome.
I think any endeavor that requires effort and skill, and especially if there's a high bar for success, right, or whatever you call success, that is going to be if you stick with it and if you feel it in here enough to keep doing it, that is going to be a beautiful journey, right? And it is going to be failure all the way up until you succeed, right?
Yeah.
It's and learning to embrace that, which I'm still terrible at, but learning to embrace the failure as part of the beautiful journey is, I think, one of the core things about being a human, right? It's one of the best things about being
Yeah.
us. So enjoy that ride, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. Um, wow, my brain is weird, so I'm gonna ask you a completely different question. It's
Love
about
it.
the book, um, but one of the things like I truly enjoyed about being in this world was, yes, there was action, and it was really cool because it plays with a lot of stuff. But I mean, the most impactful moments for me were these reveals and these dialogue scenes, and I feel like it's just a different craft, and it's so awesome. Do you? I guess my question is, will there be more action in book two? Will there be more battles? I guess, and also I just want to say that those were great. Those were great scenes. I loved all
Thanks.
of it. So that's part question, part response, I guess.
Um, I wouldn't expect a huge deviation from the ratios of conversation to action in book
Okay.
two.
Okay.
It's the pace is definitely going to pick up a little bit. There's some stuff that needs to happen that is definitely going to be a little more action oriented. Um, there's some fun stuff coming, but yeah, I mean the action is fun to write, and I when you do it well, and I think other people do it much better than I do. It can be just as meaningful or whatever as any character moment, but for me, all the core of the story is always going to be those character interactions and the struggles and decisions, blah blah blah. So, yeah, I would never, or at least I would try not to ever let the action overtake that. But again,
Yeah.
don't hold me to anything. Maybe the third book is just going to be one long Mad Max Fury Road style chase scene. You heard it her first. Brr, brr, brr.
Yes, that's awesome. Um, I have a question about guns in your world. What are the what's the term that you use for guns?
Cheddar.
Okay. Um, would if you had to like accurately label like the technological period of this gun, like is it from a far future, like I don't know, like 3,000 years in the future type of gun, or is it like I don't know, a little less down? Because like fantasy can be deceiving sometimes with
Hmm.
technology because like you have magic, but then you also have regular guns or like like they play around with these different tools.
Hmm.
Uh, what sort of time period were you going for if you were going for any at all? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I wasn't. I try not to. Oh man, I'm gonna sound like a big head writer boy in answering this question. But the truth is that I try not to. I try to build things up from first principles when I can, and I always start with like, oh, I love the Midworld and the Dark Tower, and I'm gonna do my riff off that, crossed with Hyperion and crossed with the Black Company and this and that and blah blah blah. Of course, I start
Yeah.
there. Like that's where everybody starts. But I do try to, especially with the world building, the magic systems. I tried to go like, okay, well, so like this is how the silver works. So how how would that propagate out and work in a society? And anytime
Yeah.
that would conflict, like, oh, I have this cool idea for this thing that I stole from Hyperion, but it doesn't, it wouldn't really logically follow from that first principle. I try to get rid of it. So to
Yeah.
me, the Wonderlands in both the silver magic and the gold magic are very uh, mechanical, mechanized gears, levers. It's magic and blah blah blah, but it's stuff that's being built, right? So the idea
Yeah.
of I originally didn't want guns in the world at all, and then I was like, that was a first principles thing. Like nobody would if you can build sentient robots, you can build a flechette gun, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I wanted everybody to have swords and be cool because that's what 18-year-old me thought was cool, but it just didn't fit with the world that I ended up building. So, guns exist. But yeah, I would like the clockwork stuff is, I guess you could say, vaguely industrial revolution. I don't love the term steampunk, but definitely some influences there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a satisfying answer, but
No,
that's what I
that's
got.
great. Um, and that made me think of something else. Was there anything, I guess, in general, that you had to research on during the writing process that you needed to know how something worked and you had to go research about it? Was there anything in particular that you could think of? Like, probably not something about magic because you're making that up for everything, but like how a normal life thing would go. Is there anything you had to research?
Oh, I love this question, and I hate the answer, and any I give everyone full permission to hate me for this answer. I do not. I write fantasy and sci-fi so that I don't have to research. I hate if I
Awesome.
have to do. I had to do a little bit of research for a screenplay I was working on a little while back, and
Yeah.
I hated it. The only bit I very specifically I did one singular bit of research for this book, and that was in earlier drafts. It was important to me that gun sword was a rare form of katana called a chizukatana, and I
Okay.
looked up like how long they were and the specifications, basically because I was like, if a sword nerd reads this, I want him or her to know that I know the thing. But really, all I did was look up on Wikipedia, and then in later drafts, I was like, I prefer the sword to be not as defined anyway. Like whatever, kind of whatever you imagine the sword to be is sort of what it is.
Yeah.
So my one singular bit of research went out the window anyway. But yeah, that was it. It's so much easier to just make stuff up than have to learn
Yeah.
things.
Cause, cause in my mind it wasn't a katana. So that's
I,
funny that you
yeah, I
say that.
actually put a fair, not a ton of work, but a fair bit of work of like blurring the language of how it's described so that you can kind of see it how you want to see it.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Okay, well,
There you go.
my questions have ended. I wanna thank you again for spending the time. I will have the book in the description if you guys want to go buy it. But thank you again, Ben. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Um, See you guys.